Hello, and welcome to HRD Highlights. As professionals dedicated to upholding the highest standards within the Department of Veterans Affairs, it's crucial that we understand the intricacies of employee relations, especially concerning disciplinary action. Today's highlight will focus on the critical skill of writing effective charges of misconduct. We'll be examining the key principles outlined in the HR Note Employee Relations document, ensuring we create charges that are legally sound, fair to employees, and ultimately support a professional and productive work environment. Let's begin by defining what constitutes a well-constructed charge and why it's so vital to the integrity of the disciplinary process. What is a charge? A charge is essentially a clear and thorough account of an employee's misconduct, forming the basis for any disciplinary action that may follow. However, it's more than just a list of wrongdoings. A well-crafted charge is detailed, specific, and accurate. This precision is crucial because it allows the employee to fully understand the allegations against them, ensuring they have a fair chance to defend themselves. This brings us to the all-important why. Why are well-written charges so essential? The answer lies in due process. The 5th and 14th Amendments guarantee that no one can be deprived of life, liberty, or property without it. In the context of the federal workplace, the supervisor represents the government, the employee is the citizen, and their salary is essentially their property. If we fail to provide a clear and accurate charge, we risk denying the employee their due process rights. This can lead to the reversal of disciplinary actions, which is something we want to avoid. Let's explore the intricacies of constructing a charge. Imagine it as the process that involves 3 essential components: the label, the elements, and the specifications. Let's take a look at the label. This is the title, the general summary of the misconduct. For example, misuse of government property or conduct unbecoming a government employee. Second is the elements. These are the essential components that make up the charge. What exactly defines misuse of government property? You need to prove these elements. For example, there was use of government property and the property was used in an unauthorized manner. And lastly, specifications. Let's look at this scenario. On March 10th, 2024, between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m., it was discovered that you sent and received numerous personal emails using your government-issued email account. These emails contained attachments of personal photographs and discussed arrangements for a weekend trip unrelated to work. Review of your email history showed a pattern of similar personal use during work hours over the past 2 weeks, consuming a significant amount of bandwidth and potentially exposing the system to security risks. Now about proving it. The agency carries the burden of proof. We need to demonstrate by a preponderance of evidence that the employee engaged in the misconduct. This means it's more likely than not that the misconduct occurred. Think of it as 51% versus 49%. You need to have enough evidence to tip the scales in your favor. It is important to recognize that there are key differences in the process depending on if you're dealing with a Title V employee, a Title 38 employee, or a hybrid Title 38 employee. Title V and Title 38 employees have an avenue to appeal to the MSPB or go through a negotiated grievance procedure. Title 38 employees may appeal to a disciplinary appeals board or go through a negotiated or agency grievance procedures. The MSPB and arbitrators will require all elements to be proven, so it is important to only charge misconducts where all elements can be proven. When dealing with a DAB, actions may be upheld even if only part of the charge is sustained. Okay, so how do we phrase these charges? There are 3 main styles: specific, general, and narrative. Let's look at specific charge. This is the most precise. It includes a specific label that clearly states what happened. For example, inappropriate use of government computer. The pro here is that everyone knows exactly what you're trying to prove. The con is that if the agency fails to prove even a single element, the charge fails. Next is the general charge. This uses a broader label like conduct unbecoming a government employee. The pro is the adjudicator knows in general what you're trying to prove. The con is the label in the general charge typically contains no substantive information and therefore does not add value. The last charge style is the narrative charge. This is where you skip the label entirely and the specification is the charge. The pro is you do not need to worry about failing to prove a charge element. The con is that if the essence of your charge is not clearly in the narrative, the agency may not have provided the employee clear notice. It is key to balance what is provable and the level of detail provided. Choose the style that best fits the situation and ensures the employee has clear notice of the unacceptable conduct. Now let's address a common misconception. The table of examples of offenses and penalties. It's not a table of pre-written charges. It's a guide to help determine the range of penalty that might be appropriate after misconduct has already occurred. Those descriptions are broad examples, and they're often poor examples of how to write a specific charge. Write the charge based on the evidence, then consult the table to guide your penalty decision. Do you have to cite a specific policy or regulation in your charge? No, you don't. But if the misconduct clearly violated an established law, regulation, or policy, it can be helpful to include it. However, the heart of the charge should always be the unacceptable act or omission itself, not just the policy violation. Here are a few key tips for effective charge writing. Keep it simple. Avoid unnecessary adverbs and adjectives. Instead of failure to follow a supervisory instruction in a reasonably prompt manner, say failure to follow a supervisor's instruction. Avoid compounding charges or using multiple elements unless absolutely necessary. Stick to one clear instance of misconduct. Avoid using duplicative charges. Separate charges may be warranted if they're based on clear, distinct incidents of misconduct. Instead of negligence in the performance of duty, waste and delay, and conduct unbecoming a federal employee, say conduct unbecoming a federal employee. Avoid using legal terms like theft or assault unless you're absolutely sure you can meet the legal definition. It's often better to use more descriptive language like unauthorized removal of government equipment. Be cautious about charges that require proof of intent, like willful misuse. Unless you can prove the employee knowingly and willingly acted, it's safer to stick to charges like unauthorized use. Here are some key takeaways. Base your charge solely on the evidence. Charge what you can prove, and then prove what you charge. Proper charge construction is absolutely crucial. Consult with your employee relations specialist early in the process. Writing effective charges is a critical skill. It protects employee rights, it strengthens our disciplinary processes, and ultimately, it contributes to a more fair and productive work environment within the Department of Veterans Affairs. We are pleased to announce our updated training format, which now offers concise and easily accessible lessons. We welcome your suggestions for potential new topics and encourage you to share your thoughts by reaching out to us via email at VISN8HRD@va.gov. Thank you.